of our sound here. I want to make sure that we have gone live and that you can see us and that we're definitely here. So it will just take us a minute. If you're watching this on replay, just scroll ahead, and we've got Louisa with us. Louisa, if you can quickly just say something for me.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Okay.
How are you?
Take us a minute. If you're watching this on replay, just you can hear me do the sound check. Louisa with us. Louisa, if you can quickly just say something for me.
Hello. Hi, everyone. How are you?
All right. So we are all set to go. So hi, everyone, and welcome to the Savvy Business Show. I am so excited to have Louisa Jewell with us, who is Canada's leading psychology expert, and she's a speaker and an author, and she's spoken to over 50,000 people. Was that what I read yesterday in that bio? Yes. So I'm just so excited to have her with us today. We are going to be speaking about how to overcome doubt, and I'm just going to give it to Louisa to just tell us a little bit more about you, your story. How did you get here? How did you get into this? And go.
Yeah, so my expertise is in positive psychology, and that is the scientific study of well-being and human flourishing. And I came to that study because about 20 years ago, I found myself in a deep depression. And I decided to go see a psychologist. And as I saw him, I realized he was retraining my brain and my thoughts. And I thought to myself, if I need to keep myself psychologically healthy, I need to know what he knows. And so I asked him for some book recommendations, and that's when I learned about Martin Seligman's work at the University of Pennsylvania. And I started to study positive psychology, and it started to make a real difference. And then I thought, I'm going to go and do my master's degree with Martin Seligman. And so I did. I did my master's of applied positive psychology. I applied all of the research and all of the science and everything I learned to myself, and I never became depressed again. And I thought, this is so powerful. I need to teach this to as many people as possible. And so I founded the Canadian Positive Psychology Association. And since then, we've run large conferences where we bring researchers in from all over the world to teach us more about the science of well-being. And also I bring in practitioners. And so for about 10 years now, I have been a speaker and an author, just spreading the word about how to stay healthy. Often we don't get this advice until we've become ill. It's sort of like saying, wait, we're not going to teach you about how to prevent a heart attack until after you have a heart attack. That's kind of how we treat mental illness. And so we're trying to reverse that and trying to say, here's things you can do to prevent things like depression and anxiety and stress.
Well, that's so amazing because, this so resonates with me because I was also a depressed person once. My, something that really helped me was coaching, but coaching uses a lot of those positive psychology, tips and tricks and strategies to actually help you. And I'm the first to just go, yes, absolutely. These things are so important. And I wish we could teach them at a school level where we can get clued up on this a little bit earlier in life, so that we can actually, because what happens often when you are growing up, all of these limiting beliefs and things happen to you, and so you start thinking in a certain way, and it's so much harder, like you just said, to correct it later in life if we were just to tell people earlier in life how to do it. And like you said, eating healthy will prevent a heart attack potentially. If we had this healthy thinking, it could prevent so many of our anxieties and depression and all those things. So that is just so awesome. So can you tell us a little bit more about the science of conquering self-doubt?
Yes. So, first of all, self-doubt is not necessarily a bad thing if you have a little bit of self-doubt. If you're trying something new, especially as a businesswoman, you're trying something new, it's totally normal and natural for you to have self-doubt. You've never done this before. You don't know if it's going to be successful or not. We're kind of worried as we put stuff out there. What are people going to think, right? So, of course, having a little bit of self-doubt is absolutely fine. And actually, having a little bit of self-doubt in the research, it shows that that kind of propels us to do a little bit more work. You know, we might study something a little bit more, prepare a little bit more, or ask for advice a little bit more because we want to be really good at what we're doing when we go out there. The problem with self-doubt is when it becomes chronic, when we are questioning everything, when we put something out and it doesn't go perfect and we're ruminating, and that's when something bad happens and we think about it over and over and over again. And that's when self-doubt is a problem. And it can manifest in behaviors like self-sabotage. I've heard business people say, I had a woman who was an artist who wanted to start selling her art. And every time she set up a big art show, always 4 or 5 days before the art show, she would become very ill and cancel the show. And this was happening over and over and over again. So sometimes our psychology can kill our dreams. You know, things like we might procrastinate because we're worried about what it's going to look like when it comes out, or we have imposter phenomena where we're always giving away our success and never realizing, you know, that we're actually moving things forward. So self-doubt can be a real problem. And so I wanted to know if self-doubt was stopping me from acting, you know, towards something. I wanted to know about the science of how to change that behavior. How do I get into action? Because I was always a confident person. So I thought it's not just confidence, it must be more than that. And so I discovered that there is a more action-oriented kind of confidence called self-efficacy. And that, once I figured out how to manage my self-efficacy and raise my self-efficacy, that's when I was able to change my behavior and move into action. So that's sort of the whole premise of my book about how to build your self-efficacy and get into action.
And I so love what you just said there, because I think, and I love that you just said, like, okay, it's healthy to have a healthy dose of self-doubt, because that actually helps us. I think so many, I know of my business coaching clients, they'll go, oh, I just want to be super confident all the time. And I think that's sort of an idealistic, unrealistic way of thinking about it, and actually using your self-doubt and your fear to propel you forward instead of trying to beat it all down and be this perfect person that you think, or your version of perfect that you think you should be. But then also I can so see, I was there myself, like just that downward spiral of the constant worry and the constant doubt, and how that A, is such a waste of time, and B, holds you back just so much. Like, just, yeah, it's just definitely ringing true. And then I love that you just said that your client actually was finding herself getting physically ill, because I also think people don't realize how much your brain influences your physical health. And it's all a very sensitive little ecosystem up there. Now, I want to know more about self-efficacy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the difference between that and confidence, I think you were saying? Can you just give us a broader idea?
Yes. So self-efficacy is our belief that we will be successful in any given endeavor. And so really it's about, what do you believe? And if you believe a certain thing, what we find is that beliefs eventually become self-fulfilling prophecies. If I believe that I can be successful at something, then I go ahead and I engage in the behaviors necessary to make it happen. And then I perform better. Now, if I have this really strong belief, I don't think I can do this, or I don't know how to do this, or if I do this, people are, I'm going to fail at it, then we tend not to engage in the behaviors necessary to make it happen, and then it doesn't happen. So what you want to do is you really want to change your beliefs. And self-efficacy beliefs, the best way to change your belief about something, if you're not sure you can do it, is just go out and do it. Start it and try it, because competence breeds confidence.
I love that.
Yeah, so people say to me, well, but I don't have the confidence to go and do it. That's the problem, right? So thanks for that kind of useless piece of advice. So what I say to people is I say, okay, then start with a baby step. For me, I really wanted to write a book, but I started with writing articles, on the internet. I started with a blog. I started doing magazine articles. So you slowly start to build your confidence and your competence in your writing. And then when you feel, hey, I'm pretty good at this, then that drives your confidence. And then you start to see, if I'm